Yes, there we are. This is the shawl that we are making today. I'm actually blocking it. So this is what you're going to do when you block it. You're just going to put it on the line and hang a hanger at the bottom. And then you're going to come up close. And I'm just using a little bottle like this, just a little with water. And you just spray, 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 spray like that all over it. And you let it hang. Now this is a basic triangular shawl, which means that it is very easy for beginners and for experienced people. This is a quick make. Look at this. I love this beauty. I've used one cake of YarnArt 1000 meters, but you can use any color and then jazz it up by doing the bottom, adding, I did one where I added 10 rows of color to a plain gray shawl, where I made the entire shawl plain gray. So there you go. Let's go inside so I can show you two variations that I did on this shawl, and then let's get to the table where we're actually going to make it. There we go. There she is. I brought her in from outside and folded it like a triangular scarf, which is how you can wear it. I love how it came out and I love the colors. Then on this side, I want to show you the one I made for my daughter. Same yarn art cake. The only difference is with the tassels. I used beads with the tassels. Let me show you. See, I used 2 beads there with each tassel, and it is literally the only difference. Literally the only difference. But I love that little detail. Then on the very right hand side, you can see that one looks a little bit bigger. Maybe not now, but it definitely is a bit bigger. I used 2 cakes of, let me show you here, it's a rainbow, it's a wrap rainbow, 570 meters. So 2 of these is actually 140 meters more here than it is here. This is 1,000 meters, 1,140 meters, because I used 2 of these cakes. And another difference is in the tassels. I did that a little bit different. You can see how I used a few more beads. And in the last row of this shawl, I put in beads in the center of the V-stitch. You see that clearly? Yes. In the colors that is in the shawl. So I really love that detail. Righto, and then, so let me put in here a picture of a shawl I made like this, and it was only in gray. Then I added 10 rows of granny stitch, now the proper granny stitch, which means 3 double crochet, 3 double crochet, 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet at the end, and in blues and greens, and that looked beautiful. It's a 3 weight. And I used thicker beads, bigger beads, thicker beads, bigger beads. And so you can make this in a 2 weight, 1 weight, 3 weight cotton. You can make it in acrylic. I would love to see pictures of you trying this shawl in acrylic. I just love this. Okay, there we go. I think I've told you everything I need to tell you. Let's get to the table and start making this beautiful triangular basic lace shawl. What I'm going to use for this tutorial is YarnArt Flowers, Moonlight. It's a 1,000 meter cake. You can use any 1,000 meter cake, right? Like that. And let's just see the specs on here. 53% cotton, 43% acrylic. And then we've got the little bit of bling, which you don't have if you buy the normal YarnArt Flowers. 260 grams, 9.15 ounces, 1,000 meters, 1,093.60 yards. Great stuff. You need your 1,000 meters. I am doing this in 1,000 meters. You can make it bigger, smaller, just the way it suits you, because this is the basic triangular lace shawl. Okay, now let's see what else we need. If you are a beginner, I recommend 3-stitch markers. You're going to use a pair of scissors to snip off the end and to do the tassels, and a 4mm crochet hook that we're going to use to crochet our shawl. A wool needle to work in the loose ends, and a measuring tape. And I am just using this book because we are going to make the tassels with that. You can use anything. I'll explain how we're going to do that. So, to start off this tutorial, you can use a card or whatever. Mine is, I go around the bottom here, 12 centimeters or 4.5 inches, right? For a 1,000 meter cake size shawl. So I'm going to use, this is just a little book I've got here that I'm using. Now, the decision you have to make is, are you starting on the inside or the outside? Which color do you want to be on the inside or on the outside? I'm going to start with the inside, my shawl, which means that I will use my outside where the shawl ends for the tassels. So I'm going to show you how to make the tassels. So the way we're going to make the tassels is, first things, you want the tassels to be this color because this is where your shawl will end. What you have to do is remove the ball band, which I've done. You remove the ball band and you cut 2 strips. You just take some of this yarn, take it off. 2 strips the length of a ruler. Let me just see, just plain old ruler, and you cut it off and you lie it down. There we go. There's my 2 strips. The one I'm going to use around the tassel and the one to connect the tassel to the shawl with, right? So let's lay down the 2 ruler length, 30 centimeter, which is 12 inches, 30 centimeters, around about there. That's how long these 2 pieces will be. Okay, so how are we going to make this? I'm going to put this on the floor so that I can easily roll off from the outside. So what you're doing, I'm holding it in my hand here. I'm pressed for space. Now I'm going to take this book that I said we're going to use, and I am going to wrap around it 40 times, 40, okay? So this is how you do it. There it is. I hold it. It can have an extra end. No worries about that. And I'm going to wrap around 40 times. And 1 and 2 and 3. Just like that, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Don't let it buckle too much. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, so there we go, 40 times. 40 times around this book. You can see how I've done it, right? Like that. 40 times around this book. Leave a little edgy there. We're going to cut it off. Just like that. Now, gently slide it off, holding on to everything so that it stays in place. I put my fingers in like that. This is the top half. I'm going to take one of these strands, drop it through, pull it out the other side until it's equal, and just pull like that. Now, on this side, I'm going to cut it. Let me get my fingers out. Cut it. Need to cut it in half. On this side, I'm going to lie it down like this. Don't let one of the two ends slip like that. And I'm going to make a double knot. So just a double knot. Tight, tight, and another one. Tight. Radio. Like that. Now I'm going to take, I've already done 2, which makes this easier, because that top bit is about 3 centimeters, or about, is it an inch? Just over an inch. 3 centimeters. Let me just come in a bit so you can see. It's about 3 centimeters, or it is about just over an inch. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to lie it down like this. Just go out a little bit like this. There we go. Now, take this away first. Take my 30 centimeter piece, lie it on that line. And the shorter end on that, say the shorter end. I'm just telling you how I do it. You will obviously do it the way you want to do it. Whatever suits you. Like that. There we go. Just so that with the eye it is right. And I'm going to make a knot. 2 knots will do. 1 tight and a second knot tight. Now take this piece, put it to the top, hold it there because you don't want any strands to get in your way. You see what this looks like? I'm going to wrap around 7 times. And sometimes some of the yarn gets in your way. So let's go back with this camera a bit so you can see. So 1, rather tight, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Lay it down. And there is my other piece. And I'm just going to make a double knot. So 1 knot and a second knot. And hold on to those 2 pieces. I'm holding on to it for your sake because the yarn is quite dark. There we go. Now I'm going to take my wool needle, and behind these 7 rows form like a, what do you call that, a cord. So I'm going to push it in behind, in the center, and there it comes out. Right? I'm going to take 1 of those 2. Keep a tab on it where they are because they can get lost. I have battled before. Just hold it like that and thread it through. Pull it through. Keep a tab on it. Know where it is. There we go. Have it. Pull it through all the way. Because if you lose it at this point and it's difficult to find the right one, you'll have to pull it out and redo it. So there we go. Through top, at the bottom, in the middle. I've got it in my hand here. Thread it through. Come on. Thread it through. And pull. Keep a tab on it. There we go. There we go. And nail on it. Pull it through all the way. That just makes life easier. Little tips makes life easier. Otherwise, this can become this. That should be the nice part would become the bad part. Now we need to just end them off nicely. So I just put them all three on top of each other. Or if you have a nice big scissor, you can do that. Just, my apologies for knocking the camera. Just do this nicely and then take it in my hand and snip off just the extras. Don't go wild, shortening your tassels too much. Just sort of, doesn't need to be perfect. It does not need to be perfect. There we go. Get rid of the extras. And there is our shake, shake, shake. There's our 3 tassels. You're looking beautiful. Okay, so now we're going to put this to one side and we are actually going to start on the shawl. See you in a bit. Let me just show you what I do here with my cake. Push it to one side. With my cake is, I'm going to wrap the last piece that I've been working with around neatly. Leave it like that. Try and get the ball band around it again because that's how I prefer to work. And I'm going to use that easy start and put it to one side. That's that. There's my 3 stitch markers that I'll need, my easy start that I'll need. I won't need this for now. I will need my hook, and I won't need my scissors for now, and my beautiful tassels can just lie there and have a look at them every so often. Oh right, I do need the scissors because I need to snip off this easy. There we go. Okay, so let's get going. So you're going to take this, make a slip knot whichever way you like. This is how I do it. Loosely. Just try and work loosely. If you're someone who has very tight tension, please use a bigger hook than a 4mm. I'm using a 4mm for this YarnArt Moon Flowers. Let's have a peek at them there all the time at the name. Okay, so the pattern is very easy. It's written out. I'm going to follow along the pattern with you. Only the first 4 rows. From there on, it's just go for it. Okay, we are going to chain 1. Then we are going to chain 3, which will serve as a double crochet. 1, 2, 3. Now, if you're a beginner, I suggest you put a stitch marker in this stitch. If you're a beginner. If you're not, if you're advanced, this is a beginner-friendly pattern. If you're intermediate or advanced, just keep going. So you've made 1 chain, you've made 3 chains that will serve as a double crochet, loosely, and then 1 more chain that will serve as a 1 chain space. Now we're going to work the first row, the rest of the first row, all in the first chain we've made. So it's going to be a V-stitch, chain 2, V-stitch, chain 1, double crochet. And if I say V-stitch, I mean double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. If you're a beginner, just follow along. So I've made my chain 1. In the first chain we've made, I'm going to work a double crochet. Slowly, so you can follow along. There we go. 1 double crochet. Chain 1. And in the same space, another double crochet. Throughout the pattern, I will call this a V-stitch. It's not a proper V-stitch, I don't think so, but it is an easy way to refer to it. Now we're going to make chain 2, which will become the spine of the shawl. Chain 2, and if you are a beginner, grab a stitch marker and just put a stitch marker around this so that you know that's the spine. Now we're going to work another V stitch, double crochet, chain 1 double crochet in the same. There we go. 1 double crochet, chain 1, and yarn over, put it through, bring yarn up. You've got 3 on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Second double crochet done, and it is the end of my V stitch, completing the V stitch. So I'll be, if I say complete the V stitch, it means I've worked a double crochet, a chain 1, and a double crochet. So then chain 1 and a double crochet in the same first stitch. There we go. So that is what we have created. Right? You have made your 5 chains, and let me just go closer. You've made your 5 chains. That first chain becomes the center. 3 chains becomes the double crochet. The 5th chain becomes a chain 1 space. We worked a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet, which I refer to as a V stitch, in that first stitch. Then we did a chain 2, we did a double crochet, chain 1 double crochet, which is the V stitch, in the same first stitch. We did a chain 1, and we did a double crochet in the first stitch as well. That should all be 12 stitches. If you want to count, the way you count is, take this out, you count the V's, that V, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 has our stitch marker in it. Okay, that's row 1 done. Now we're going over to row 2. Let's move out a little bit. Okay, chain 1. Row 2 starts with a chain 1. And then I turn my work. I like to do my chain 1 and then turn. Although the pattern says, obviously at the end of row 1, I've done all I need to do for row 1. Now at the beginning of row 2, I chain 1. Yarn over. In the top of the first double crochet, you're going to work a double crochet. There we go. Like that. And then immediately, if you're a beginner, you're going to put in that V, a stitch marker, so that you know that's the end of your row. When you come back this way, you know where to put your hook. Chain 1. Now, in the first chain 1 space, work a V stitch. That is a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet in the same space. Chain 1, hop over that V stitch of the previous row into the chain 2 corner space and work a corner. What is a corner? You're going to work a V stitch, chain 2, and a V stitch. So there we go, in the chain 2 space. Let me just take out the stitch marker. In the beginning, this is very flimsy, but as your shawl takes shape, this will become so easy. In the chain 2 space, work your V-stitch, which is a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in the same 2 chain space, chain 1, chain 2 to form your corner again, and place the stitch marker around it so you know that's my chain 2 corner space. Still in the chain 2 corner space, work your second V-stitch, which is a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Chain 1, skip over this V-stitch, which is your double crochet, chain 1 double crochet in the previous row, and in the last chain 1 space, you're going to work a V-stitch. There we go. Double crochet, chain 1, and another double crochet. You're going to chain 1, and there where you've got your marker, you're going to work your last double crochet. So now it's easy to see where to put the last double crochet. Right, so now we are going to row 3. I'm going to take out this yellow stitch marker because I'm going to place it in our new placement when we get to the start of row 3. Come on, there we go. So, start of row 3. You can see our little triangular shawl is taking shape. Chain 1, chain 1. Turn my work. Work a double crochet in the first stitch, there on top of the double crochet. Work it loosely. Pull it up like that, yarn over, pull through 2, hold it, immediately insert your stitch marker for the beginners. For the advanced people, there are time stamps at the bottom of this video. Just jump ahead. Chain 1, and in the first, don't overlook it, in the first chain 1 space, make a V-stitch. So we're going to work our double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet in that 1 chain space, completing the V-stitch. Chain 1, jump over that V-stitch of the previous round into the 1 chain space. Following that, we are going to work a V-stitch, double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Chain 1. Now I'm going to jump to the 2 chain corner space. I'm going to work a V-stitch. Let me show you. Just let me sort out my yarn. Let me take out the stitch marker for the moment. So in that chain 2 space, we are going to work a double crochet, a V-stitch, right? Which is a double crochet, chain 1 double crochet. We're going to chain 2, we're going to work a double crochet, chain 1 double crochet, followed by a chain 1 in that corner space. So you can see what we're going to do. So let me just move out a little bit and then get going. So I am going to make my V-stitch, which is my double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in the chain 2 space. This double crochet ends off my V-stitch. Make a chain 2 space and just hold it, inserting my stitch marker so that I know that's it. Yarn over, in this, continuing in this 2 chain space, work another V-stitch, which is a double crochet, chain 1 and a double crochet, ending off my V-stitch, chain 1, hop over this V-stitch to the chain 1 space. Remember, there's a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, so don't be confused if you're still a beginner. If I say the chain 1 space, I'm referring to the chain 1 space dividing, which is between the V stitches. There we go. Make a V stitch, double crochet, chain 1 and a double crochet. Chain 1. Now, just after that double crochet, there's a chain 1, but I'm just putting my hook in there, in that chain 1 space, and I'm going to work a V stitch. So a double crochet, like this, double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. And a chain 1, and then I need to put a double crochet there where my stitch marker is. There we go. So I know exactly where to put it. That is why the stitch marker is helpful if you're a beginner. If you're advanced, intermediate, you don't need that. You just keep going. Okay, this is the last row I'm going to do with you, and then you're going to do on your own. So chain 1, I'm going to take out, and I need to move the stitch marker, so I'm going to turn around. On row 4, we are going to work a double crochet. Like in every row we start, we work a chain 1. After we've made our chain 1, we work a double crochet in the top of the first double crochet we see, and immediately insert your through both loops, right, the stitch marker. Chain 1, and in the first chain 1 space, directly there before the first V stitch, I work a V stitch, which is a double crochet, chain 1 and a double crochet. Come on, this yarn is catching up on me. That double crochet ends off my V stitch, and I'm going to do a chain 1. I'm going to skip over the V stitch of the previous row into the chain 1 space. I'm working a V stitch, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, completing my V stitch, chain 1, hop over the V stitch of the previous row, work a V stitch in that chain 1 space, and that's what you're going to do every row. You're going to work V stitches in the chain 1 space, dividing the V stitches as the rows get longer and longer. So there's a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet to finish off the V stitch, chain 1, and we are in our corner. I'm going to take out this blue stitch marker so it's not in the way. In the chain 2 corner space, I'm going to work my V stitch, chain 2, V stitch. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, ending off my first V-stitch, chain 2, 1 and 2. Insert my stitch marker at my chain 2 space to mark the spine of this shawl, and another V-stitch, which is my double crochet, chain 1 and a double crochet, chain 1, skip over the previous row's V-stitch, in the chain 1 space work a V-stitch, double crochet, chain 1 and a double crochet, ending off my V-stitch, chain 1, hop over this V-stitch, in the next chain 1 space, there you go, double crochet, chain 1 and a double crochet, ending off my V-stitch beautifully, chain 1, hop over the V-stitch of the previous round, and then in the space after that work a V-stitch. So there you go, your double crochet, chain 1 and a double crochet, chain 1, and in that last stitch, that's where you put your double crochet. There we go. So this is as far as I go with you. Let me just pull this out a bit, and then let's talk about the next row. Let's just talk through it, and then you continue. So you're going to turn your work now. You're going to do what we've been doing in all the other rows. So row 4 is the row that you're going to repeat until you've come to the end of your yarn. And the reason why we have started off, as I said, if I didn't say, I apologize. The reason why we started off making the tassels first is because you don't want to run out of yarn and then have to make tassels. How can it match? So you first start with the tassels. Then now you know all the yarn that you have in this cake. You can just go with this shawl as big as you want it. And there you go. Continue with row 4. Row 4 will be the row that you repeat. So let's go just a little bit. Can we go closer? Closer. There we go. My apologies. Okay. So you're going to turn your work. You're going to work a chain 1. You're going to work a double crochet on top of the first double crochet. In the first chain space, work a V-stitch, chain 1. Hop over the V-stitch of the previous row. In the next chain 1 space, work a V-stitch, which is your double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, followed by a chain 1. Hop over the V-stitch of the previous row. In the chain 1 space following, you work a V-stitch, chain 1, and you continue until, as I've just said, pass over this V-stitch of the previous row. In the next chain 1 space, you're going to work a V-stitch followed by a chain 1 until you get to the corner space. So there's the chain 2 corner space. You're going to work a V-stitch like that, a V-stitch, chain 2 and a V-stitch V-stitch followed by a chain 1. The first V-stitch after that you're going to skip. In the next chain 1 space, work a V-stitch, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, followed by a chain 1, skip the next V-stitch, into the next chain 1 space, work a V-stitch followed by a chain 1 until you get to the end. In the last stitch, you're going to work here in that very last stitch, one chain space, you're going to work a V-stitch like you did here in the last stitch. You're going to work a V-stitch, chain 1, and where you've put your stitch marker, you're going to work a double crochet. And that's how you're just going to continue. So basically, row 4, continue until this shawl is big enough. And I will see you when I have worked up my cake of 1,000 meters. And then we will have to attach these lovely tassels. There we go. So let me just end off. You can see what it looks like here. Beautiful. Looks like the granny stitch because it has, you could have done 3 double crochets, but we took out the center or the one in the middle and made a chain, which turns it into a V-stitch. I know, I mean, some people call it a V-stitch. To me, this will always look like a granny stitch. Okay, so let's just end this off. Chain 1, and in the next, skip the V-stitch. In the next chain 1 space, work a V-stitch, which is a double crochet. Chain 1, and again a double crochet. Chain 1, and then there in the last chain 1 space, work a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet to end off the V-stitch, and then a chain 1, and well, I didn't need my stitch markers, but your stitch marker would have been there. In the last stitch, work a double crochet. Now I actually did that. There we go, end it off, yarn over, pull through and through. I actually finished it off and then realized, oh my goodness, I didn't film it yet. So there we go. Anyway, so this is what it looks like. So let me just change it, change the angle and to show you. There you go. So you can see where we started here at the bottom. And then we went together row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. Up to there we went together. And then you had to go and complete. But you can see the, let's say, the grid here. Everything is that V-stitch, or let me say, because to me it is so close to a granny stitch. Because it's, you just leave the center stitch out and put a chain. So instead of doing 3 double crochets, you make a double crochet, chain 1 double crochet. And as with the granny stitch, you do a chain 1, hop to the next chain 1 space, which is not the chain 1 space there, which is the chain 1 space dividing the 2 V-stitches, and you make your V-stitch. Beautiful. I love the fabric it has created, and look at the beautiful color change. Okay, so the next step, last step here is to add our tassels. So let's do that next. I'm just going to turn this around so that we can work with this way. Here, this is the bottom end. We take our tassel and we take one of the 2 strands, just one at a time, because what is important is to, we need to make a double knot, even 3 knots. So there you go. You pick this up, and this is important. Doesn't matter which corner you choose, that you should go into 2 stitches next to each other. Don't go into the same stitch. It must be 2 stitches next to each other. So I'm just going to go into the 1 stitch and pull it through like that all the way. And this one is on this side, and thread it through quickly. And choose the next stitch. Now it is dark, but you can see the stitch next to it, or I mean 2 stitches away, doesn't matter, just cannot go into the same stitch like that. Pull it all the way through like that. Now I'm going to make a knot. I wouldn't pull it too tight. Just let's make one knot loosely so we can see where we want it to hang, like that. Don't go pulling it too tight, and make a second knot. Just lightly pull like that, so you can see that's how it's going to hang. And I'll make a third knot. That's just me, to be extra secure. Third one, and that is what it's going to look like. And now I'm just going to work in this end, both ends obviously, like this. So I can just work my way through like that. And then I'm just going to go down like this, lightly, and return the same way I came. Just keep it neat and tidy as you can. And I'm just going to thread it through there and work it one more time down. I like to work in the corner because there's a lot of stitches in one place, and I can just go behind them once or twice, and that should secure it. Well, go 3 times if you like. There we go, and a third time, and that's it. Lightly. Little piece left over, and do the last one. And I've already done that on the other 2 corners, and I'll show you what that looks like. Now just lightly go around this side, up, through and through. Then I can go work my way and through, you know, or you can go all this way, exactly as you please. I just prefer to do it this way, and I prefer to keep the color. This is the very dark color. Let's work it in there where it will be invisible. There we go. One more time. Now, if in the shawl that I did that was light gray, once I came to the point where I had made the last row, I then added 10 more rows of the granny stitch. Now I have said, this reminds me, the V-stitch reminds me of the granny stitch, because what you've got here is a double crochet. You could have 3 double crochets, which is your granny stitch. But now what I did with the one that was totally in light gray, I would work in the stitch separating the V-stitch, that one chain, separating this V-stitch from this V-stitch. I would work a 3 double crochet cluster. Chain 1, 3 double crochet cluster, and I did 10 rows of that in blues and greens, whereas the body of the shawl was this plain basic shawl. And you can then, I would even want to make one with shells, 3 rows of shells after this body, or you could end this sooner, because I managed to work 63 rows. 63 rows. If you want to count it, you're going to, this is the spine, you're going to count there, 1, 2, 3, up to wherever you want. But I made 63 rows in this shawl. So there you go, with my tension, of course, and with my 1000-meter cake. And I really enjoyed making this. I can make more of this. This is a really mindless pattern. So there we go. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up. Look at this. That's the other second and the third tassels. If you liked this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up. Please leave a comment if you enjoyed this. Please post in our OM Granny Square Facebook group your version of this, how you jazzed it up, and what it looks like. Thank you so much for watching, and have a blessed week. Bye.